Hi, everyone. We're just going to start in a couple more seconds. I see we've just turned on the webinar, so we're waiting for people to join. Give us one more minute and we'll get started. Okay, welcome everyone to Wild Women Expedition's first in the series of our webinars. Up first is Peru and the Inca Trail. My name is Julia Wong, and I am the Director of Marketing for Wild Women, and I will be your host and moderator for the evening. Tonight, we have three panelists with us. We have Megan Bailey, who is the Director of Sales. We have Franny Bergschneider, who is our Program and Operations Manager. And we have Sonya Stevens, who is our expedition support specialist, sorry. Franny, can you switch the slide, please? Just so we can see all of our lovely faces. Perfect. And everyone here tonight has attended and been to Peru. And I believe we've all done parts of the Inca Trail and seen Machu Picchu. So I think we have lots of experience tonight. If you have throughout the presentation any questions, please feel free to put your questions in the Q&A box below, and we will try to answer your questions if they are on topic as we go through the presentation. And if there are any other questions at the end, we will definitely have time for that, and we'll try to get through as many answers as we can. If there's something that we can't answer, we will definitely make note of that and get back to you as soon as we can. So to get started, Franny will take over the presentation and start us on our trip to Peru.
Hello and welcome. I'm Franny Bergschneider, and I just wanted to introduce myself. I work for Wild Women as the program manager, and I was on the Inca Trail on our Inca Trail trip in April last year, or of this year, 2022. And I have listed a few of the countries that I've been to. I spent many years working in Antarctica, and that's where I'm going to next with Wild Women. Yeah. But today I want to talk to you about Peru and why you should go to Peru. So many reasons. There's a vast and extensive history there, ancient history, a huge World Heritage Site, specifically Machu Picchu, but many other ruins that you can visit and explore. The food is phenomenal. I thought it was the best food I've had in South America. Ceviche, corn of every kind, lots of quinoa. It's just delicious. And the nature is just amazing. There's so many hiking trails. There's the jungle, the Amazon jungle, and there's lots and lots of different kinds of animals and bird life there. And a huge reason to go would be that our Inca Trail trek is a pilgrimage of sorts. And when you go on it, it's because Pachamama, who's in Quechua, Mother Earth, she is calling you there. So perhaps if you're attending this webinar, it's because she's been whispering in your ear to head to Peru. And when you're going to Peru, it's a great idea to go a few days early before starting your trek. I would recommend going to Lima first and spending a few days in Lima. I loved hanging out in the neighborhood called Miraflores. I stayed at this really groovy, perfect hotel called Antigua Hotel. It was in an old monastery, and there were all these old tiles everywhere, and they had a little restaurant outside, and you could walk around and just find all the different ceviche restaurants and try all the different kinds. head to the market. So I did that, and that's where you should drink your pisco sours, because we don't want to be drinking pisco up at altitude. And then you can head to Cusco. Oh, here's a picture of some wildlife. I've skipped ahead of myself. And once you head to Cusco, we'd really recommend that you land there a few days early. I actually was very lucky and landed 5 days early before the Inca Trail trek started. And that really gave me the chance to settle in, enjoy Cusco, see some of the historical sites, visit the markets there, wander the little cobblestone streets, take in the churches and the Palo Santo, practice my Spanish and connect with the locals, as well as adapting to the altitude. So you can, once you arrive, you can, most hotels will have cacao tea for you to drink as you adapt, or as you acclimatize to the altitude. Another great thing about Peru is you will have a chance to see alpaca and condor. They're known for having a few different animals that you'll see along the trail and along your journey. I wanted to show all these pictures of these beautiful women and talk about what makes Wild Women unique, and why it's amazing to go to Peru with Wild Women. I just love it so much. Well, basically, we empower women, we hire female guides, and we really empower females in the countries we visit, the artisans, and we create safe spaces for women from all over the world to travel. And it's not just about creating a safe space, but really forming a community and taking up space as an individual and as a group together to really, really shine. So it's a great place to really just be yourself and explore a new part of the world. And what can be really nerve-wracking, because this is a trek, a 4-day trek, and it's at altitude, and there's a lot of climbing and a lot of hiking. It's a little bit, it can be a little bit intimidating. And my experience on the trek is that I was a little bit worried. Like, I had been in the pandemic, not getting as much exercise, but we really just formed a solid group. And as we're going, we are only as fast as our slowest member. And so we all just really supported the women who were at the back. We put them at the front, and then we all we bonded together, and we just went as fast as we could, and we did every step together. And so it was a really, really great experience for being on the trail and coming together and doing every day together. And no matter your strengths, you have a part of the trail that will let you meet yourself. So for example, my challenge was not necessarily going up. Let me climb up forever, but it was the last day actually, that I really struggled. It was going down. Boy, going down hurts those knees. Another great thing that we have on this program is we visit a community on the second day of the trip called Awamaki, and we meet all these lovely, lovely Peruvian women who are living a traditional lifestyle here. You can see all their ornate jackets. Their mother would have given them that jacket when they got married, and so they've been wearing it basically into womanhood, they wear that. And so you can see that some of the women who were more recently married, their jackets are just a little bit newer, and the ones that have been married longer, they carry the wear. But you can see all of the fibers here. They take that from the sheep and they spin it, dye it, and they weave it into really ornate, beautiful blankets, scarves. You can see this scarf that I'm wearing. One of the women at the community wove it. And then the picture on the left there, that was a woman who helped me make a little bracelet that I got to take home and wear. Well, I wore it for the trek and then I took it home with me.
I have my bracelet from Amawaki as well.
Oh, nice. Beautiful. And here are some of the other women who work. And you can see the one woman on the right, she's actually weaving. It's a very elaborate process. And it's just amazing to watch. This is our guide, Desnarda. She's been guiding this Inca trek, I think for about 10 years with us. And she's notorious. She is about the size of a ladybug. And you might think she's dainty, but you get on the trail with her and she's just hiking. She hikes this trail every day for 8 months of the year. It's amazing. And she's about 4'5". Yeah, but I'm gonna play a video about her right coming up here.
My name is Desnarda Aragon. I was born and grew up here in Cusco. When I was child, I was spending time in the countryside. After finishing my school, I applied to a public university to study administration and tourism. After finishing my profession, I started to work in a travel agency, then moved to work in a hotel. But every day was the same paperwork. So that's why I decided to change my office al fresco between the mountains.
She really is gifted as a guide. She was watching us, right? And she was taking mental notes of who needed what. And then she seamlessly provided us and checked in with who people needed checking in with and helping those who needed a little bit more encouragement. And she knew a lot about the culture of the Inca Empire and was able to really just kind of build that story as we went through the Inca Trail. So we learned a lot of history and culture.
Desnarda made the trip. She had so much passion for each and every corner.
I'm truly passionate about sharing my culture, my part of my country, my knowledge, my tradition. All the things that I share is because I want to change how the people see the world. So how our ancestors were living, so maybe help a little bit to change in the positive way of the world.
So that was Desnarda, and she really is a force. She makes the trip very unique. She takes care of everyone, but lets everyone have their own unique experience and shine within the group. So it's really great to have her be our guide for our program. And then here I'd love to get into a little bit more about the overview of the actual full 8-day trip. You can see it here highlighted. So the first day we arrive and we explore Cusco. And then the second day we leave Cusco and we explore the Sacred Valley and go visit the community of Awamaki and see the women weaving community. And we have lunch with them in their home. It is an experience that really made the trip for me, meeting those beautiful women. And then we'll head back to the town of Oyotantambo and we'll see some of the ruins there. We'll get all of our gear repacked, because you'll just head out on the hike with a duffel bag that Desnarda will give you. And she'll also give you a sleeping bag and a thermarest and some hiking poles. And then you can put your other gear in that bag, and you'll leave your main bag at the hotel. And then we'll hike for 4 days, and then arrive on day 7 at Machu Picchu. Well, we arrive on day 6 at Machu Picchu, but we don't really get to explore Machu Picchu until the next day. And on day 7, exactly as I said, we'll explore Machu Picchu and Aguas Calientes, and then head back to Cusco, and then we'll have our last night in Cusco. When we're on the Inca Trail, we're hiking for 4 days, and it's structured in a way where the first day is about 10 kilometers. It's about 6 to 8 hours. You start a little bit later in the day because you're eating breakfast and getting your gear finalized and making your way to the trail. And then the trail that day is fairly what do I want to say? It's undulating that day and going slightly uphill. So it's a very good intro day. And day 2 is probably the most challenging. It's you're hiking uphill all day pretty much. And you hike up to those paths where you're pretty much in the clouds. It's just beautiful. And day 3 is my favorite day. It's sort of a day where it's undulating. You're on the part of the path that has the original ancient Inca stones laid into the trail. The energy is crisp and clean, and you're in the cloud forest. So you're just walking in the clouds basically on this ancient trail. It's quite amazing. That campsite, night 3, is just spectacular. You're up on a mountain above the clouds. It's truly phenomenal. And then the last day, day 4, is the dreaded hike down. And then you end up at Machu Picchu at the Sun Gate, and it's a once in a lifetime experience to see that at the end of this trail. And here are some great views of the trail, of the old trail. You can see the photo on the bottom left. That's the old original ancient trail. And a lot of climbing upstairs, a lot of climbing steep stairs. But we do it together, and it's one step at a time. I put up these slides of my shoes here to show you that it is really one step at a time. And I even recorded me walking.
Franny, we do have a question from one of our participants. Is there a training program available to help in to get into top hiking shape, or any suggestions for how? Anyone from the panelists can answer that question for us?
Yeah, sure. We are actually working on aligning ourselves with a specialist in that realm. And we also have some literature posted on our website, and we could always help refer you to someone. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Do you suggest doing just a lot of stairs or a stair machine, or is that helpful for all the ups and downs that you do on the trail?
I would say doing as many stairs as possible, walking as much as possible, like just pretty much movement. If you can do some strength training to basically strengthen your core, that's always great, and stretch as much as possible. Yeah. I would.
I would also say mention that you should break in your hiking shoes beforehand.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. And the other thing is that no matter how fit you are, when you're at altitude, everything is challenging. So the more you can train, the better. And the earlier you can arrive into Cusco, the more adapted you'll be for the hike. And we really, really recommend 2 days, but any more time that you can spend in Cusco every day helps before. But I love these pictures of my shoes because literally this was the meditation. So Desnarda says that Pachamama calls you to the Inca Trail. And if you're hiking the Inca Trail, it's because she wanted you to, I get emotional thinking about it. Yeah. Pachamama wants you to have a break from your life so that you can she wants you to have a break from your life so that you can go on this pilgrimage. And the pilgrimage would have been designed for not everyone would take this road to Machu Picchu when they were arriving. It was a special road. It's a road where you would go to have a rite of passage to seek clarity in a time of change, or in a time when you were entering into a certain milestone in your life. So for example, if a boy was about to become a man, or they were seeking some spiritual wisdom, they would hike this trail, and then they would reach the Sun Gate and Machu Picchu. And that's what this trail was for, because there were a lot of other trails that you could access Machu Picchu. But if you take this trail, it's sort of it's a different calling. It's a meditation, and you go step by step, and you think about your life and how you want to move forward in it.
That's lovely. Thank you, Franny. We had just another couple of questions, if you don't mind, from Anna. Do you suggest wearing boots a half size bigger than normal or one full size?
When I chose my boots, they were the same size as my original feet. But I would suggest going to hike like a boot store. And I went to MEC in Canada, but I think if you live in the States, you could go to REI, and then they have people there who run the hiking boots area, and they would be able to set you up. But the thing that's really great is that you find a boot that actually fits your foot. So don't go for a boot that you like the look of, go for a boot that feels good on your foot. And then, as Julia said, make sure you break it in extensively, because often that's what will give you blisters, is the new boot. And the other thing is to really splurge on a good pair of socks, because the socks often make the biggest difference. You don't want them to be too thick, and you don't want them to be too thin. You want sort of like a lightweight hiking sock. Yeah, and then you could also pack some moleskin into your first aid kit in case you started to get like a sensitive spot starting to form. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. We have another question about the trail from Andrea. Is there a different trail for the walk back to Cusco, and how do you manage it in one day? Maybe we can talk about the itinerary a little bit.
Can you repeat that question?
Is there a different trail for the walk back to Cusco, and how do you manage it in one day? So I believe we should, if you can talk about how we get from Aguas Calientes back to Cusco.
Yeah, for sure. So we end the trip in Machu Picchu, and the town there is Aguas Calientes. It's sort of that's like the Las Vegas of Peru. It was a town built around Machu Picchu to support the infrastructure there. And there's a train that leaves Aguas Calientes and will take you back to Lima. It actually takes you back to Ollantaytambo, and then you take a bus. We'll drive you in our Wild Woman bus from Moyotatambo to Cusco, where you'll finish the voyage. Yeah. Are there any other itinerary questions?
One question from Kat is, can you give us an idea of as to how much weight we will be carrying?
Oh, great. So that's a really great question. I was going to talk a little bit about that and how to pack. So maybe we can put that question in the parking lot, and we'll visit it in how to pack section at the end.
Perfect. And then we have a couple of questions about timing. So Maggie asked, what time of year were you there?
Yeah. Well, I was there in April.
Can you tell us a little bit about the weather? Because we have a couple of people asking about the weather in April.
Yeah, I would also say that there's a slide that has a little bit about the weather, and maybe we can I'll talk more about the weather in that for that question.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. But as you go step by step, one thing I always like to remember is don't forget to stop and look. And one of my favorite quotes is in a book by Paulo Coelho, which is The Alchemist. And he also puts it in his pilgrimage book, but he often says, wherever your heart is, there you will find your treasure. And one other really unique thing about the trail is that all along the trail, there are ancient Incan ruins. So you can see this one here is Winiwaina, and it's so funny. None of us are wearing sunglasses, and we're all staring right into the sun. And then I don't remember what the one on the right is called, but there's just all these little ancient Incan ruins from 1400. So it's just you keep getting these little Incan snacks along the way until you get to Machu Picchu. It's really quite special. I wanted to show you this picture, and this is what a campsite will look like. And so there's a tent set up, and then there'll be a main food tent set up where you'll eat breakfast. And there are water jugs where you can fill up your water. And there's also a bathroom tent set up, so you can use the facilities in that way. And here I put up this slide to show you, and this is what the food tent will look like there on the right. So like a bigger tent with a table inside, and then there's smaller sleeping tents on the left there. This is a picture I took at 4:30 in the morning on the last day, on day 4 of the hike, as you're hiking down to Machu Picchu. And I'm not often a morning person, but there's nothing I love more than waking up so early and going on an amazing adventure, drinking coffee and looking at the sky. It's just my favorite thing. So just wanted to put up a picture of what the sky looks like at 4:30 in the morning. And here's a slide of our the porters. So one of the amazing features of this hike, and how it can be a pilgrimage. So you're able to really relax into the trail and take in the views. You're not carrying your all your luggage on your back. You're just carrying your day pack. And these porters here are carrying all of the gear, all of the tents and all of the food. And here at Wild Women, we've really supported female porters to be hired for our treks as much as possible. These are the 2 porters on my trip. So lovely. And they hike in these skirts. They hike in them, and they like hiking in them, and they're the traditional garb. And if you can notice the shoes that they're wearing, so they're hiking with about 50 pounds of gear on their back. there was, they used to hike with more actually, that used to be like 80 to 100 pounds, but they changed the rules a few years ago. And each porter is now only allowed to carry 50 pounds max on their back at a time. And a lot of them wear these very thin rubber soled shoes like this. And they're just hiking up for forever. And basically they'll run on the trail. And when they're passing you, you go to mountainside and let them pass you on the trail. It's quite amazing. Here's a picture of our group. And I just wanted to show how the bonds that you can form and the great times that you can have here at the top of the world. And it's also, I also wanted to show this because the 4 days on the trail are truly, truly magical. And you become a community on the trail, and you're walking, you're basically on a 4-day meditation. And then at the end you get to Machu Picchu. And what you realize during this hike is that that it's not about where you end up, it's about the journey. And so I love this photo because it shows, to me, it shows the joy of the journey. And then here is Machu Picchu. And yeah, it's an emotional experience to arrive at Machu Picchu. It's a very sacred, ancient place, and it's full of reverence. It's often cloudy, and you can see the difference in between these two photos. I think the one on the left was taken on day 4 of the trip, and the one on the right was taken, I took on day 5 of the trip. But I love it. It's so moody, and you can see what it would have felt like to live in that too. 700 years ago, or however many years ago. And here's a lovely wild woman celebrating arriving at Machu Picchu. Yeah, and I'll spend a little bit of time talking about what to pack, because I think those are some questions that can often go overlooked, and are the ones that niggle in your brain at nighttime, aren't they? But it's definitely worth investing in a solid pair of hiking boots if you don't already have them. And as we've been saying, to definitely break them in. And then to have a pair of cozy camp shoes for when you arrive at camp. And when you're hiking during the day, you'll be carrying your day pack on your back. And you can choose the size. I went with 30 liters. We recommend above 28 liters because you'll also have to be able to fit a hydration bladder in there. I had actually never used a hydration bladder before this trip, and now I'm not interested in life without it. I love it so much. I want to bring it with me to the grocery store. My top thing that you should definitely bring is snacks. If you're ever going to eat Mars bars, the Inca Trail is the place to eat Mars bars. There are also little tiny kiosks set up along the way the first 2 days, so you can support some local folks and buy Mars bars from them. And they also sell Gatorade and cocoa candies. The cocoa candies help with the altitude, and they're also a nice jolt of sugar for your system. It really helps with the altitude. And then for this trip is interesting. The clothing, we really recommend to pack it into activities. So one set of clothes for the day hiking while you're on the Inca Trail, with perhaps an extra t-shirt. And then you'll have a set of evening clothes for the campsite. And then we recommend you bring a separate set of pajamas for sleeping at nighttime in the tents. And then you'll also bring your travel attire, so whatever you like to travel with, and then any clothing that you want to wear pre or post trek. So any clothing you want to wear in Lima or Cusco, or if you have any extra itinerary set up before or after the trip. A rain jacket and rain pants, super important. I didn't want to bring the rain pants, and then I'm very glad I did in the end, because you just never know. You're going so high up into the mountains. It might not rain, but there's clouds, and the clouds are very cold. So it's definitely worthwhile bringing your rain pants. And I brought a warm mid layer. I brought a fleece, and I brought a thin down jacket, and I'm really glad that I did that. I had 2 hats. I had a wool hat, and I had a sun hat. And I brought my headlamp for the campsites, and I brought a battery pack so I could charge my cell phone, because I was using my cell phone to take photos. And then we'll also be posting the packing list very shortly on the website, so you can have access to that.
We'll say too, Franny, that layers are so important. Like you mentioned Lima and Cusco, but I think there's something like 90 different microclimates across Peru. And I was in the Amazon before my time at Machu Picchu, and it was so hot, just sweating the whole time I was in the jungle. So having those layers and being prepared to pack, as Franny said, different things for different times. And much of it, it's a good idea to bring a day pack, as sometimes you'll have to pack and leave your big luggage in one place and just take what you need. So you do that for the Amazon as well as for the Inca Trail. And if you're doing another trip, like our Treasures of Ancient Peru trip, which doesn't do the Inca Trail, but still gets to Machu Picchu, you also bring just 2 days worth of clothes for the Aguas Caliente and Machu Picchu part. So having a duffel bag or a day pack to pack your extra stuff in is very important as well.
Yeah.
I have comments too. One thing I always want to say is the rain jacket and rain pants go in your day pack. So I think going to the bigger side of that 30 liters is a smart idea, because you fill that up so quickly with the hydration bladder. And I don't know how big yours was, Franny, but mine was 30 liters and 30 or 3 liters, 30 liters, good Lord. 3 liters. And it was the perfect size for this trip. And for sleep clothes, I always like to have extra cozy socks and extra like underclothes too, because you will sweat on these trips, and then you will feel like a new woman when you have new underclothes to put on. So, because there's one opportunity to take a cold shower. I think I took it, but it was, and it wasn't that cold, but it felt nice to have like clean everything every day, or just clean things closest to your body. So I feel like you can never have enough socks and underclothes on these types of trips. Might be a lot of information, but it's important information.
Totally. Yeah, definitely. And you definitely want to have lots of vessels for water. Exactly. I had a huge water bladder, and then I had another water bottle as well.
I just wanted to add the packing list for the Inca Trail Trek trip is on the website. If you go to the trip page, there's a tab called FAQ. It's new, and when you click on there, there's a drop-down menu, and you can click on the packing list, and there we've uploaded the packing list for you to peruse.
Perfect. We also wanted to talk or mention that Wild Women has 3 other trips in Peru. They have the Sacred Ride, which is a horseback riding trip. And if you're interested in that one, I think Klein will be giving another webinar soon on horseback riding trips with Wild Women. There's Treasures of Ancient Peru, which Megan was just on. And then we also have a Salcante Lodge to Lodge trek, which is a little bit longer, and it ends at Machu Picchu as well. And instead of camping, you stay in really beautiful lodges along the way. And Megan, did you want to talk about Treasures of Peru for a second?
Sure. Yeah. Treasures of Ancient Peru is a really great way to see more of Peru than just the trail. And for people that aren't up for walking for 4 days, but still want to experience the beauty of Peru and get to Machu Picchu, it's a really great option. So we start in Cusco and get to explore that beautiful city, and then head into the Amazon for 3 nights, where you'll see monkeys and sloths, and I saw piranha and all kinds of animals. And again, it's very hot there, but really, really beautiful and completely different than anywhere else. After that, we head back to Cusco. We get some time to explore Cusco and heading into the Sacred Valley, spending some time exploring there. There's a really unique experience that we get to do where we actually meet with a shaman. A woman came and met us, and she only spoke in Quechua, and so our guide was translating some for us, but she did this really beautiful ceremony of an offering to Pachamama, where everyone in our group could have a moment to just sort of reflect on why we were there and what we were hoping to get out of the trip. And then we all gave an offering and all contributed to this beautiful offering to Pachamama that the shaman did, which was really, really a special part of the trip. We also visit the Weaving Collective. And then instead of walking to Machu Picchu, we take the train. So from Ollantaytambo, we take the train to Aguas Calientes. We spend 1 night there. And then bright and early in the morning, we head up by bus up to the base of Machu Picchu, and then we have a few hours to explore there. So there's still great opportunity to explore around the site of Machu Picchu and learn a lot of the history. And it can be that the Treasures of Ancient Peru trip can be a great option for people that, like I said, might not want to walk for 4 days or have some concerns about mobility or injuries or anything like that. It's a really great option to get to see Machu Picchu, some other Incan ruins, as well as the Amazon and Cusco as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out anytime.
We do have one question for the extension or add-on for the Amazon. I know that you can add that on for the Inca Trail. Was the portion that you did for the Treasures of Ancient Peru, that Amazon portion, was that similar? Can you kind of describe what the add-on / extension is for the Amazon?
Yeah, it's the same. So you fly from Cusco into Puerto Maldonado, and then by bus head out. It's a really small town, and you head out up the river to the Tambopata Research Center. And so it's great. From the minute you get on the river, you're spotting things along the way. We saw capybaras and caiman and so many birds. But so it's a couple hours upriver, and then you stay in a jungle lodge. And so it's the same for both Treasures of Ancient Peru or the extension, but you stay in a jungle lodge where you're in the jungle, and one wall of your room isn't there. It's only 3 walls in your room. And so you're actually sleeping and hearing the sounds of the animals, and you have a very good net over your bed, so you don't have to worry about anything, but you hear a lot of what's going on. So it's really, really beautiful. And I think definitely a must do when you're in Peru, just to see a completely different side of the country.
Thank you, Megan. We also have Maureen, who asked, how does this Inca Trail trip compare to the lodge trek trip? Can we quickly go through that?
Totally, yeah. So I had the opportunity to go on the lodge trek just the first 3 days. But it's a little bit more of a quieter trail than the Inca Trail, and so quite unique, and also a spiritual pilgrimage. It's not as rustic in terms of, you're not camping along the way. You're sleeping in quite exquisite lodges that have, hot tubs out under the Andean stars, where bats are flying above your head. It's just really magical. You'll have more little side tours along the trail. So there's days where you'll hike up to little glacial fed lakes, and you'll also have an opportunity to experience shamanic cacao tea leaf ceremony, and then like a tea leaf reading ceremony as well. So and then you end at Machu Picchu as well on the Salcantay Lodge to Lodge trek. So that's for that one. Are there any other questions, Julia?
There
Okay.
are, but let's keep going. I know we're cognizant of time. Let's finish the last couple slides, and then we'll go through any other questions that we have.
Okay, sounds great. And now what you've all been waiting for, the weather. But I love this because it's a little bit of a perspective shift. And I mean, we all look at the world from our own lens, and my lens is a North American Canadian woman, and I live in a 4-season country. But so going to Peru is amazing because it's not only is it below the equator, so our austral summers, or all our boreal summer is their austral summer, but they don't have 4 seasons as we do. They have a wet season and a dry season. So on this photo you can see that the dry season is May to September and the wet season is December to March. I was there in April, a really beautiful time. Lots and lots of flowers, lots of little tiny orchids and wildflowers in the valleys, just super, super beautiful, luscious time to be there. But I think all the times that we offer trips, it's great. Sonya, you were just there in October. What was the weather like for you?
It was, there is end of winter for them, or right? Yeah. I always get turned around. Going into like warmer weather, I guess. And it was cool in the mornings, and then would like warm up to really lovely sunny days. I think we had a sprinkling of rain on one day at the top of Dead Woman's Pass, but everyone put on their rain gear and then took it off like 5 minutes later. So we really lucked out with weather.
Great. Perfect. Yeah, so that's for the weather. Any more questions?
Okay, we have a couple more questions. Can you describe the bathroom situation on the Inca Trail?
I can indeed. Well, the bathroom situation is that there aren't bathrooms on the trail, really. There might be one or two, there might be like some facilities on the first day, but for the most part, you are like squatting on the path if you're going to go during the day. And so we recommend that you pack some toilet paper with you, and then whenever you do use the toilet paper, you have to pack it back into your knapsack and bring it to the campsite where you'll be able to dispose of it. When you get to the campsite, and also at lunchtime. So not only are the porters setting up the campsite at the evening, but they're also setting up a lunchtime campsite, and they set up the facilities, the loo with the view, at the lunchtime campsite. So you know you're going to be able to have a bathroom break in like a protected little spot with toilet paper at lunch, as well as there'll be one set up for you at the campsite in the evening. And it's this little tent, like a little one, it's like enough, it's like a standing tent, so it's quite tall and thin, and it has a little portable toilet in it. So it's not the most glamorous, but I mean, I think it's pretty glamorous for being up in the clouds. Yeah.
Perfect. Are there places along the trail that are close to the edge? What if you have a fear of heights?
There are some areas that are quite close to the edge, and I will say that those areas, there was usually like a mountain right beside me, so I could kind of lean against it. And the other thing is that you're with a group of women, caring, understanding women. In my experience, that was my experience, and most people who I talk to, that's their experience as well. who will help you along the way if you're having trouble moving, for example. Yeah, but for the most part, like you do develop this rhythm where you're like walking and you're looking at your shoes, and you're kind of you're in this meditative place, which is pretty special.
Perfect. Can you confirm that you would pack your own day pack and the water bladder is included within the weight of that day pack?
So you're going to pack your own day pack. So there's no limit. Like you could pack 1,000,000 pounds into your day pack. It's whatever you want to carry on your back. So for example, I have a really nice day pack that I bought a 2-liter water bladder for. And I also brought a liter water bottle with me because I wanted the ability to have both. And every morning I would fill up my water bladder and I would put it in, and then I would put my rain gear in the bottom. I would put my little travel first aid kit in there. I would put my extra warm layer in there. I would put in my sunscreen, any snacks that I wanted to have during the day. So like 10 Mars bars, for example. And I'm probably forgetting stuff that I put in there. I packed my headlamp in my day pack every day, and my camera, which is also my cell phone. Yeah, Sonya, can you think of anything you packed in your day pack that I'm not mentioning?
I think you covered everything. Like I had bug spray. I don't think you mentioned that, but I didn't really need it. Some people did though. So it was like hit and miss with the bugs with my group, but sunscreen and reapply and sun hat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Can you confirm that for the 4 days of hiking, you're mostly in the same clothing that you've packed, except for Sonia's underclothing comment, because the rest of your clothing will be at the hotels?
So when you pack your duffel to take on the trek, you're going to be wearing your hiking gear. I would suggest packing your extra undergarments, as Sonya suggested, and then also an extra t-shirt, just so that you can have kind of like, you can split it up. So one t-shirt is 2 days, and then another t-shirt is another 2 days, because it's pretty stinky. And then you'll also, in your duffel bag that the porters will be carrying, you'll have your sleeping clothes, your campsite clothes, your bag of toiletries, for example, anything that you don't need in your day pack. And you will also have your outfit that you want to wear on the day after you have a shower in aguas calientes when you go into Machu Picchu. One note is you're not allowed to bring a backpack into Machu Picchu that's over, like, is it 20 liters, Megan? Were you just there?
Yeah.
So you have a day pack that's 30 liters, like I did, for example. I also packed a little canvas bag, so I could go to Machu Picchu on day 7 of the itinerary with my water and my camera and stuff like that.
I did want to mention too, Julia, I think there was a couple questions around it, but about permits. People are asking about how many people are on the trail at a time. And it is true what you've heard, that there are 500 permits per day for people on the trail. And that includes guides and porters. So that's like 300 probably go to guides and porters. So it is really important to book far ahead, and permits do sell out, and the permit needs to match your passport. So that's why we have to ask for all that information. But they definitely do sell out. So you do have to make sure you book. And you also do need permits just to enter Machu Picchu. just the grounds of it. They really do control it because they're really trying to protect it. Obviously, if people were climbing all over walls, the rocks wouldn't last too long. So there are designated routes that you can take while you're exploring Machu Picchu, and you do need to get permits for those as well. So I think somebody mentioned it doesn't look like there's many people in this picture. We're also up very high, so there are people down there just crawling around, but there are permits required, and you do need to get all of those ahead of time. So planning ahead is really important for Peru.
Perfect.
Did that answer the permit questions, Julia?
Yes. Are there, and then with that permit, that also means that there are a limited number of people on the trail. So it's not super crowded when you're hiking the trail yourself. You may pass by other groups. Can you confirm that, Franny?
When you're hiking on the trail, you'll be passed all day by porters who are running ahead of you. And then you will see other groups on the trail.
Perfect. And then we can also accommodate other dietary restrictions such as vegetarianism. Can we accommodate gluten-free and vegan?
Yes. It's amazing what those chefs can accommodate in this little tent in the clouds. It's truly amazing. You may get a cake. Don't tell Disnarda I told you that.
Awesome.
It's wild.
In the photos, there's practically no people in the actual ruins. Is that because people are limited as to where they can wander?
Like in this
Yeah.
photo right here.
Yeah,
In all photos in Machu Picchu?
yeah, they are limited. So yeah, like I said before, you need a permit, whether you're coming by Inca Trail or coming up from Aguas Caliente, you need permits to enter, and there's certain routes that they want you to do, again, just to protect the ruins. So people are more spread out, but it does get pretty full, and also why it's great to go first thing in the morning to avoid the larger crowds. But it doesn't get like Disneyland full of people wandering everywhere. It is limited. But I was just there in last month, and they were saying that now it's about 4,000 people a day are entering Machu Picchu, and that's like half of what it was pre-pandemic. So there's still lots of people going, but they are limiting it to try to preserve the ruins as much as possible.
Perfect. Just to be cognizant of the time, I'm just going to ask you guys a couple more questions, and then any questions that we don't get to, we will be answering by email directly to those who have submitted some questions. One of the last questions I'd like to have answered is, how fit do you need to be for this trip?
That's a good question. So I would say being at altitude is the hardest part. So doing anything at altitude is quite difficult. I would walk up the street and become winded quite easily. And so a certain level of fitness is important with core strength and ability. You have to be able to walk for 4 days at altitude, and one of them is like uphill all day. Saying that, you can go you don't have to be a speed demon about it. It's one step at a time. And there's lots of support along the way as well.
Perfect. And in terms of any first aid supplies, if anything happens, will there be any supplies available and help when necessary?
Of course, yes. Our guide Disnarda has a full first aid kit, like a guide and backcountry wilderness first aid kit supplies. Personally, I always travel with a little personal first aid kit. So if I'm on a hike, it will look different for every trip I'm on, but since this is a hiking trip, it would have moleskin, for example, perhaps some gauze strips, like a tensor bandage, Advil. Advil's really like Advil actually helped me a lot, and helped a few of the ladies, just not be experiencing so much pain in their bodies all day. So that would be a great thing to bring for yourself. And that's all I can think of. Maybe some Band-Aids. It's always good to have some Band-Aids. Advil.
And if there is anything major that happens, knock on wood, that doesn't happen, but the porters are there to help, and people have been carried off the trail if necessary, and hopefully that never happens. But twisted ankles or things like that, those are, the Desnarda and the team know what they're doing, and will take care of any eventuality that occurs. But definitely good to be prepared on your own, as well as making the team is there to help everybody be successful.
Perfect. So it's 9 o'clock now. Franny, do you want to hit that next slide? So just to wrap up, I know there are a couple more questions that we have not answered, but we will reach out to everyone individually with these answers that as much as we can, and get those answers to you. But in case if you're interested in traveling with Wild Women Expeditions, our details are up on the slide right now. You can visit our trips on our website. You can email one of our adventure experts via email, or call us, or connect with us on social media. If you have more questions about Peru, about the Inca Trail, about any of our other trips to Peru, we're more than happy to help and be here to answer any questions that you have. I just wanted to thank everyone for attending today's event, and I want to thank our panelists for attending and sharing their expertise and their stories as well. Any final words from our panelists before we sign off and say goodnight?
Thanks for joining us, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you in Peru.
Thanks
And
for
thanks,
coming
Franny.
out. Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, thank you, everyone. As you may have been reminded, this webinar has been recorded, so we will be posting this live onto our YouTube page after probably hopefully by tomorrow. And again, we will reach out to everyone who did have additional questions, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon, good evening, good morning. Thanks for attending. Have a good night. Bye.
Thanks.